Hello, I am Josh Simmons, the founder of Fulfillment Bound. This short video tutorial will provide an overview of the free fulfillment map templates and examples offered by Fulfillment Bound. It will also briefly describe the process of fulfillment mapping to get you started. A fulfillment map is a living and adaptable personal strategic planning and management system designed to help you clarify, pursue, and fulfill your unique potential. A fulfillment map is a comprehensive tool that is also straightforward to use. A fulfillment map can help anyone who feels like they aren't getting all that they want out of life. Whether you are at the beginning stages of clarifying your highest goals or are already diligently pursuing your goals, fulfillment mapping can maximize your effectiveness in achieving them. My fulfillment map has transformed my life for the better and continues to do so. As a result of consistently following the fulfillment mapping processes, I feel that I am getting the most enjoyment and satisfaction out of life possible on a daily basis. I also know that I am on the path toward achieving my unique potential. I am excited to share our fulfillment mapping system with you. I believe that it can maximize the enjoyment and satisfaction in your life and help you achieve your unique potential. Before we dive in, I want to let you know that you can obtain our latest free fulfillment map templates and examples, which we will be covering in this video, by subscribing to Fulfillment Bound's email list at fulfillmentbound.com. When you confirm your subscription, links to download these resources will be available on the confirmation page and also in a confirmation email. There are 2 fulfillment map templates that are currently available to Fulfillment Bound's email list subscribers. These include a fulfillment map Excel spreadsheet with enhanced features and shortcuts for advanced Excel users such as drop-down menus, conditional formatting, and pre-programmed formulas, and a simpler fulfillment map Excel spreadsheet that is not enhanced. If you do not consider yourself an advanced Excel user, I recommend starting with the simpler template that has not been enhanced. There is also an example fulfillment map available to subscribers in both the enhanced and simpler spreadsheet versions. The example is partially but not entirely based on my own fulfillment map. If you do not have Excel, you can download and open these spreadsheets in free spreadsheet editors available online, such as Google Sheets or Apache OpenOffice. You can also find more information beyond this tutorial on fulfillment maps by visiting our fulfillment mapping blog at fulfillmentbound.com. In this tutorial, I'll be walking through an example so that you can see what a fulfillment map looks like and how you can easily customize your own. Although I will be using an enhanced Excel spreadsheet, this tutorial also applies to the simple version because the content of a fulfillment map is the same regardless of which template you use. If you want to begin customizing your own fulfillment map while watching this video, this is a good place to pause and head over to fulfillmentbound.com to subscribe to our email list so you can obtain your own copies of these fulfillment map templates and examples. One additional thing before we move on. As you likely noticed, it is challenging to say the word fulfillment over and over again, especially multiple times in one sentence. To avoid breaking my tongue or brain, I will be referring to a fulfillment map as an FMAP and fulfillment mapping as FMapping throughout the rest of this video. In this fulfillment mapping tutorial, I'm going to start with the Mission, Vision, and Values tab of your FMAP. I'm going to briefly describe what each concept means and how to prepare your own. Before I begin, I want to remind you that this is an introductory tutorial and will only scratch the surface on most topics in order to get you started. Other FMapping trainings, blog posts, services, and other resources are or will become available that will address these topics in much more depth. Let's start with your mission. Your mission is the overall purpose of your life. Your vision is the ideal future state in which you have successfully achieved your mission. Both your mission and vision should be described in brief statements that are ideally no more than 1 to 2 sentences each. For example, my personal mission is to help individuals, families, communities, and organizations clarify, pursue, and fulfill their unique potential, which will continuously increase as it is fulfilled, beginning with myself. My vision is widespread and steadily increasing empowerment, harmony, and genuineness throughout my life and the world as a result of me and the majority of individuals, families, communities, and organizations taking meaningful and steadily increasing steps toward fulfilling our unique potentials. Your mission and vision are especially important aspects of your fulfillment map because they should be the foundation for all other aspects of your fulfillment map. Ultimately, everything else in your FMAP should be consistent with your mission and vision. Ideally, you will know your mission and vision, which are essentially your desired destination in life, before you start fulfillment mapping. However, these can be challenging to clarify and can take years to formulate. If you are struggling to clearly state your mission and vision, you may want to instead begin by developing your long-term goals and objectives, which I will be describing in a moment. Focusing on goals and objectives in the beginning can help you eventually clarify your mission and vision. I personally worked on my goals and objectives for several years before I was able to figure out my mission and vision. You can and should revisit your mission and vision on a regular basis, whether you have formulated these or not. If you already have mission and/or vision statements, I recommend evaluating and, if needed, revising these at least once per year. Fulfillment Bound will be offering additional trainings, services, and resources to help people consider their mission and vision. Now on to core values. A core value is a belief or principle that is ingrained within you. It always, or at least almost always, guides your actions and behavior. It is how you do things. A good way to identify core values can be found in the book, The 3 Big Questions for the Frantic Family, a Leadership Fable by Patrick Lencioni. In the 3 Big Questions, core values are described as those that you adhere to so thoroughly that you sometimes practice them to a fault. For example, one of my core values is strategic, which means that I approach my life in a systematic way to ensure that I optimize my life. I occasionally go overboard in my adherence to being strategic, such as when I prioritize a weekly fulfillment mapping update session over an enjoyable activity with a friend or family member on a Sunday afternoon. When adding core values to your FMAP, I recommend writing a word or phrase that represents each core value. I also recommend preparing a brief explanation for each core value that is no more than a few sentences. A good target for core values is 3 to 5. If you include too many values in your fulfillment map, they are less likely to be your core values and more likely to be just a list of some general values. Also, don't confuse core values with aspirational values, which represent how you want to act or behave on a consistent basis, but aren't necessarily doing so in the current moment. If you really want to add an aspirational value, I recommend not having more than one and labeling it as such. Now let's move on to the Goals, Objectives, and Activities tab of your FMAP. The first thing you may notice is that this tab has a lot of columns. Don't be overwhelmed. Only some of these columns are essential. The rest are just options and ideas for customization. I want to start with column E, which is where you will insert the applicable focus area for each goal, objective, and activity in your fulfillment map. It is helpful to organize the goals, objectives, and activities in your life by different focus areas. How you define and name your life's focus areas is up to you, and these labels can change over time. Some examples of the focus areas I use are family, financial, spiritual, vocation, and wellness. If you are just getting started with F-mapping, it is probably better to begin with just a few focus areas that you particularly want to give attention to. Please note that it is important that you use consistent names or labels for your focus areas. Consistent labels are essential for filtering, sorting, and organizing your goals, objectives, and activities, which I will touch upon later. Now let's move on to column D, the description of each goal, objective, or activity. Each row will contain a single goal, objective, or activity. Each goal, objective, or activity should fall under a single focus area. I will now explain the difference between goals, objectives, and activities. Goals represent long-term goals that you want to achieve for a focus area. Long-term goals can be achievable, meaning when it is done, or ongoing. All of my long-term goals are ongoing. It is important to come up with at least one goal for each focus area. A good amount of long-term goals to shoot for is 2 to 5 for each focus area. Every goal you add to your fulfillment map should be consistent with your mission and vision if you have formulated these. For example, one of my goals for my personal growth/learning focus area is to be a lifelong learner with a mind that is stimulated daily. This long-term goal is consistent with my personal mission and vision statements, which I stated earlier in this tutorial. Below goals are intermediate objectives and milestones. In other words, objectives are the intermediate sub-goals you will seek to achieve on the path toward achieving your long-term goals. Objectives should be specific and achievable. Many of these will have an end date. Some of these may be continuously repeated. Every objective should relate to at least one goal. Each goal can have multiple objectives under it. An example of an objective under the personal growth/learning focus area in my fulfillment map is to continuously read, watch, and listen to books, videos, and recordings that relate to my FMAP focus areas, goals, and objectives to continuously learn and be reminded of sound principles and good habits. This objective is consistent with my goal of being a lifelong learner with a mind that is stimulated daily. Activities are what you plan to do in order to achieve an objective. Activities can be thought of as sub-objectives and are even more specific than intermediate objectives and milestones. Every activity should relate to at least one objective. Each objective may have multiple activities under it. An example of an activity under the personal growth/learning focus area in my FMAP is to read or listen to at least one book or audiobook per week. This activity is consistent with my objective to continuously read, watch, and listen to books, videos, and recordings that relate to my FMAP focus areas, goals, and objectives to continuously learn and be reminded of sound principles and good habits. You may notice that I also have habits in my fulfillment map. These are activities that recur on a daily basis. An example of a habit under my personal growth/learning focus area is to conduct daily check-ins on pending FMAP activities covering the next 2 weeks. This habit is consistent with my objective to maintain and use an FMAP which keeps me on the path of achieving my highest potential, which is consistent with my goal to continuously grow and strive to achieve my unique potential as a person and as a leader. Before moving on, I want to point out that you can choose not to incorporate activities into your fulfillment map, especially if you are just getting started. Your FMAP can still be valuable with just goals and objectives. I didn't include activities in my FMAP until a few years ago. I used to keep track of activities in Outlook as tasks. However, my old system had limitations that I found frustrating. My fulfillment map is much more customizable and accessible than Outlook. I have set it up so that I can view and even edit my FMAP from pretty much any device connected to the internet, including my phone. Also, my fulfillment map keeps my mission, vision, values, goals, objectives, and activities all in one place. Outlook doesn't allow this, nor does any other system I have come across. Being able to see my goals and objectives while planning my activities promotes alignment in my life and ensures that I remain on track toward fulfilling my unique potential. Furthermore, I also use my FMAP for all aspects of my life, including my business and professional goals, objectives, and activities. This further promotes alignment throughout my life. I do still use a separate calendar to keep track of meetings, appointments, and events. However, I use my FMAP for managing all other important aspects of my life on a daily basis. I will show you an example of how I do this later in this tutorial. Let's resume and jump over to column F, which you can use to categorize each of your entries under column D as a goal, objective, activity, or habit. You will notice that each type or category begins with a number, including number 1 for goals, number 2 for objectives, and so on. This is for maintaining a proper hierarchy between these when sorting, which is a topic for more advanced training. Once again, it is important to use consistent labels for filtering and sorting and other organizing purposes. Columns A, B, and C allow you to use a numbering and lettering system to link your goals, objectives, activities, and habits to ensure alignment. This can take time and is not absolutely necessary to do, but can be helpful. This is also an advanced topic that I will not be covering in this tutorial. Let's now go to column G, which is for setting deadlines. Using deadlines transforms your fulfillment map into a powerful whole life management system that you can use on a daily basis for tracking and accomplishing activities. At least this is what it has done for me. All of the activities in my FMAP that I am committed to accomplishing have a deadline. You can include goals, objectives, and activities that you are considering but are not yet committed to achieving in your FMAP. However, this is a more advanced topic that will not be covered here. To show you a few examples, let's move down to the wellness focus area. One of my activities here is to obtain chiropractic treatments for neck and back discomfort I am currently experiencing. The deadline listed in column G is when my next treatment is scheduled for. Below that, you will see a habit, which is to exercise for 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week. For habits that I previously committed to, I like to use the first of the current year as the due date so that the habit will always show up when I am filtering and sorting based on date proximity. That way, I will always see my habit when I am reviewing what I want to accomplish for the next day or the next week. If you don't use your FMAP to manage habits and activities, it is still important that you assign deadlines to your objectives. All objectives should have at least one annual deadline under column H, even recurring ones. Otherwise, they are not specific enough. Objectives need deadlines to help you stay on track, keep you accountable, and help you gauge the relative importance of your objectives. For those using the Enhanced Fulfillment Map template, there are 2 deadline-related features built in for your convenience. The first is conditional formatting that highlights the deadline either red, orange, or yellow, depending on how close the deadline is. A deadline that is today or has passed shows up as red in the deadline column. A deadline that occurs between tomorrow and the next 5 days shows up as orange in the deadline column. Column J, time-based urgency, contains an if-then formula which labels a goal, objective, activity, or habit as low, medium, high, or very high for its urgency relative to its proximity to the deadline. There is also conditional formatting that highlights a whole row yellow if the time-based urgency is high or very high. These and other enhanced features, such as drop-down menus that are linked to the lists in the drop-down tab, which are included in the Enhanced Fulfillment Map template, are for advanced users. Errors with these advanced features are likely to occur as you use and modify your fulfillment map. Users will need to make their own corrections when these errors occur, which may require advanced Excel skills. I am not going to cover these features any further in this tutorial. Fulfillment Bound plans to develop advanced trainings on these features at some point in the future. I also want to point out that I set up these features for myself. You can customize existing features and create new features that are not currently within your fulfillment map. The fulfillment map templates include additional columns that you may use if you think they will be helpful to you. These include columns that will allow you to track the importance, time frame, and status of your goals, objectives, and activities. They also allow you to indicate the levels of alignment, fulfillment, difficulty, control, and stress associated with each item. You can also add reflections, notes, and links for each goal, objective, and activity into your FMAP. Some of these columns may be helpful for you to use, but they can take time and are not absolutely necessary. As previously mentioned, the columns included in these templates are for ideas and options for customization. I personally do not use many of these columns mainly due to time considerations. I love fulfillment mapping as a means to achieve fulfillment. If I attempted to fill out and track information under all of these columns, I wouldn't have much time to actually achieve anything, let alone fulfillment. Do not feel like you have to use all or even most of these columns, although I recommend using the columns that were filled out in this tutorial. Also, you are free to add columns to track information that is not currently tracked by these templates. Ultimately, you should customize and use your FMAP in ways that work best for you. I encourage you to experiment. Your approach is likely to evolve over time. I now want to demonstrate some ways you can use basic filtering and sorting to quickly organize and review what you want in your fulfillment map. These filtering and sorting features apply to both the enhanced template and the simple template that is not enhanced. Filtering and sorting are great because they allow you to quickly focus on only the information that you want to see. Also, filtering and sorting can be easily and quickly undone without affecting any of the information in your fulfillment map. These features are simple to use, yet powerful. They are also exactly why my FMAP was not created in a standard text document such as Word or other non-spreadsheet format. Let's say that I am performing my daily check-in of the activities and habits in my FMAP that are past due or due within the next 2 weeks. I don't want to view goals and objectives, so I will filter out those by clicking this down arrow icon and deselecting these items. Now all of my goals and objectives are hidden. Then, in order to only see the activities that are due within the next 2 weeks, I will filter out all items that don't either have a high or very high time-based urgency. For those not using the enhanced spreadsheet, which automatically populates a time-based urgency in column J, you can simply sort by deadline date using oldest to newest. This will move the most time-sensitive items to the top of your fulfillment map, and you can scroll down to review them. I will now undo the time-based urgency filtering to show you how to do this. Now let's say that I want to prepare for the work week ahead by only looking at the activities under my vocation focus area, which covers all of my business and professional activities. I can do this by filtering out all other focus areas. You can quickly reveal filtered out items by going back to the same drop-downs and checking Select All. You can also go to the Data ribbon at the top and click this icon to clear all filtering. You can also do stack sorting, meaning that you can sort by one column and then by other columns. Here's a quick example of a stack sort that I like to do, which I set up off camera by clicking the sort icon next to the filter icon up top. I like to sort by focus area, then by type, then by deadline, since I like to view the deadlines of my goals, objectives, and activities while maintaining the proper hierarchy between these items, and while only considering one focus area at a time in alphabetical order. I typically use stack sorting to reset my FMAP back to the exact way that I like it. Since stack sorting is an advanced Excel feature, I am not going to cover it any further in this tutorial. There are additional and alternative ways to apply filtering and sorting under the Data tab in the menu ribbon at the top of the Excel spreadsheet, including the stacked sorting feature that I just showed you. I will not be covering other ways to filter and sort in this tutorial. I now want to describe how you can use and update your fulfillment map. I first want to show you how you can add new rows to your FMAP. One of the ways you can do this is by clicking on the row that you want to insert the new row above at the left of your screen, then by right-clicking and selecting Insert from the menu. You can then enter a new goal, objective, or activity, plus all of the information associated with that item in the desired columns within the new row. You can delete an existing row by clicking on the row you want to delete at the left of your screen, then by right-clicking and selecting Delete from the menu. There are other ways to add and delete rows that I will not be demonstrating in this tutorial. Next, I want to make a recommendation for saving your fulfillment map as you make revisions. I suggest using Save As and changing the date to the current date every time you make an adjustment to your fulfillment map. I save my fulfillment map files with names that include the date to keep them organized. I can then go back and retrieve a prior version if I accidentally delete something or want to see what I was working on during a specific period of time. I review my fulfillment map activities on a daily basis to determine what I want to work on or accomplish each day, including my habits. During these daily FMAP reviews, I also like to look at what activities I want to accomplish over the next 2 weeks to keep these on my radar. I can also reprioritize on the fly if needed. For example, under vocation, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to publish this tutorial video today, but I should be able to tomorrow. This will push back when I finalize my initial blog post and publish my website also by a day. If I want, I can make this adjustment during my daily check-in. Even though I just showed an example of changing a few activities during my daily check-in, I don't usually do this because I want my daily check-ins to be as brief as possible. I try to scan and process my list of urgent items in 5 minutes or less. This includes preparing a handwritten daily punch list of what I want to accomplish that day on a post-it note or a small pad. If I find myself needing to spend more than 5 minutes conducting a daily check-in, I tend to do them less often, which makes my fulfillment mapping process less effective. My current practice is to hold off on making modifications until I conduct my weekly FMAP updates, which I will be explaining next. In addition to these daily check-ins, I conduct a more thorough review and update of all of my fulfillment map objectives and activities on a weekly basis. I scan through all items to remove or mark as complete those that I have accomplished, delete objectives and activities that I have decided no longer to pursue, add new objectives and activities that I have committed to, and change dates and other information on existing items as needed. This weekly review covers objectives and activities due on any date, although I find it easy to quickly move past the objectives and activities that I will not be pursuing until way into the future. To find new activities and objectives that I may want to add to my FMAP, I tend to cross-reference my flagged emails from the past week or so and my calendar for the upcoming week during this process. Ultimately, you will have to determine what works best for you in performing daily check-ins and weekly updates. Lastly, I try to conduct a complete review and update of my fulfillment map on a quarterly basis, sometimes during a family fulfillment mapping retreat with my wife. We have a family fulfillment map which overlaps and corresponds with our individual FMAPs. Fulfillment Bound will provide more information about family or relationship fulfillment mapping at a later date. When I perform complete fulfillment map updates, I focus on reviewing and evaluating my mission, vision, core values, long-term goals, and objectives to make sure that these are in alignment and to make adjustments as needed. My fulfillment map guides me on a daily basis, helping me stay on the path toward achieving my unique potential. The fulfillment mapping system is dynamic and results in a fulfillment map that is living and adaptable. Before concluding, I want to make a few important points. Do not expect to achieve all of your goals, objectives, and activities. Don't expect to meet all of your deadlines. There are many goals, objectives, and activities that I have added to my fulfillment map and didn't accomplish. I have given up and deleted many of these and completely revised several others. My deadlines are very fluid. For the most part, my deadlines indicate relative importance. There are a few activity deadlines that I've pushed back week after week and month after month for years. That probably should tell me something about the importance of that activity to my life, but hey, that's all part of the process. I do always have some firm deadlines in my map, but there are also many that change from week to week. A fulfillment map is not and should not be a guilt-inducing tool. Be kind to yourself. I admit that I feel guilty at times over not accomplishing an activity or objective, or for repeatedly pushing one back. This is not unusual in fulfillment mapping or in life. I used to feel plenty of guilt over not accomplishing tasks way before I had a fulfillment map. However, I get over it and I keep at it. In fact, I am better at recognizing what failing to accomplish a goal, objective, or activity actually means, which is that I need to make adjustments either in my life, in my fulfillment map, or both. Not accomplishing an objective or activity is actually a good thing that forces me to consider and evaluate several factors, such as what I am doing or not doing with my time, the amount of time that I actually have to do what I want to do, and the relative importance of an activity or objective. This struggle is good, healthy, and entirely natural. Life is always changing and throwing something new at you. You can and should be making adjustments along the way. If you stick with it, you will eventually have a fulfillment map and life that better represents who you are and where you want to go. If you are fulfillment mapping, you are on the path toward fulfilling your unique potential. I believe that this is exactly where you want to be. We have now reached the end of this tutorial. During the tutorial, I focused on what I believe are the essential aspects of a fulfillment mapping process. Use all of this as a guide, not as hard and fast rules. Your fulfillment map can and should be customized to meet your needs in terms of what you want to track and how much of your time you want to spend tracking that information. Please experiment, do what works best for you, and enjoy your journey along the way. As you progress, I encourage you to rewatch this video and take advantage of other fulfillment-bound resources as needed and as they become available. A fulfillment map, just like your life, will always be a work in progress. If you keep coming back to review and refine your map, it'll get better and better, and the fulfillment mapping process will be easier and easier. If you haven't already, please subscribe to Fulfillment Bound's email list at fulfillmentbound.com to obtain your copies of the fulfillment map templates and examples. Also, we'd love to hear from you about how the fulfillment mapping process is working for you, both good and bad. Please leave a comment below this video or message us using the contact form at fulfillmentbound.com/contact. I am so grateful that I have a fulfillment map that clarifies where I want to go in life, provides a blueprint for how to get there, and helps me stay on track as I pursue my unique potential. My life has been so much more satisfying and enjoyable since I committed to fulfillment mapping, and I feel like it keeps getting better and better. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope our fulfillment mapping system helps you in your efforts to clarify, pursue, and achieve your unique potential.